How do, Pádraig?
Sit somewhere else.
Huh? But I have my pint there, Colin.
He has his pint there, Colin, from when he came in and ordered his pint before.
No. Okay. I'll sit somewhere else.
So,
This is why I love my job. The last thing I reviewed was Call of Duty. Now I'm talking about the Banshees of Inisherin. This is the new movie starring Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. Kerry Condon also has a terrific performance in this movie. And the wonderful Barry Keoghan, who is the Joker in The Batman, also has a standout role in this picture. It's written and directed by Martin McDonagh, who also brought out In Bruges, starring Farrell and Gleeson. They're kind of teamed up and reunited for this picture, which is kind of a small movie. It's set in the early 20th century during the Irish Civil War, and we're in a little village on an island off the coast of Ireland, and we've got a bunch of these weird little characters that are all in each other's business inside of this tiny town because there's not a lot to do, but they can hear the sounds of war happening on the mainland, and every once in a while you see puffs of smoke and little fireballs and stuff. And what's happening in this little village is a friendship is being torn apart. Brendan Gleeson's character, who is a musician and aspires to be a great artist, has had enough of Colin Farrell's character, and that's the way the movie begins. We basically see the dissolution of this relationship, and the movie kind of works to help us try to understand why this relationship isn't working anymore. Brendan Gleeson's character, Colm, tells Colin Farrell's Pádraig that he doesn't care for him, he doesn't like him anymore, and he just wants him to leave him alone, and he threatens to do all kinds of things if Colin Farrell's character doesn't stop bugging him. And we see the back and forth on this. We see both sides of what happens during the destruction of this relationship. Colin Farrell's character, Pádraig, is devastated. He turns for help from his sister, played by Kerry Condon, and they live together because their parents have passed away and they've inherited this little shack that they cohabitate in, and she tries to console him, but he doesn't quite understand what's happening. And meanwhile, Brendan Gleeson's Colm is a tortured soul that wants to aspire to do more, and he feels confined and trapped by the reality of his life inside of this little town. And so we get to see a bunch of these really interesting and human vignettes with all of these characters that are all going a little bit squirrely, living their smallish lives with not a lot to do except drink pints and gossip, and occasionally go into town and pick up the mail and pick up a little bit more news and a little bit more gossip. And so we see in this picture, which is kind of half comedy, but there's also some pretty powerful dramatic moments. There's a real kind of somber quality to it all, and it's beautifully shot right on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean with all kinds of awesome landscape imagery, and it's just like visual effects, you know? It's just such a beautiful and morose picture. The sea looks incredible, the cliff sides, and the crashing waves, and there's the occasional beach sequences and stuff as we see Colm trying to compose music that he's been working on forever. The characters sometimes will just enter frame and sit in silence. Barry Keoghan's character is a bit of a dim-witted dreamer who has aspirations but is constantly sort of running into the brick walls that keep him trapped inside of his world in this village, and he does some terrific work in this. It's a really interesting examination of the frailty of relationships and the stupidity of feuds, and how they can come from nothing and escalate and be really about nothing as a war is waging just across the water, which is a pretty profound allegory. There are a lot of quiet moments. There are a lot of really interesting, sensitive moments. Colin Farrell's character, Pádraig, is also a character that seems to be quite happy-go-lucky. He enjoys his relationship with the animals that live in and out of his house, and he kind of just likes this routine of going to the pub with his friend and hanging out with the people of the village, and he can't quite understand why Colm, Brendan Gleeson's character, wants to change everything and blow everything up.
You do like me.
I don't.
He just can't grapple with the fact that Colm wants to make a big change. And so we see what happens to not only these two, but also all the people around these two, because everybody is kind of looking in and everybody has a point of view and wants to be involved and gossip about all of this stuff. And so there's some really beautiful, poignant moments and some touching elements in here for sure. Even though it has this veneer of just being this kind of cutesy and everybody's just quirky and funny and silly, there's also some hard truths to the way that McDonagh puts this thing together and frames it all for us. And everybody is just so incredible in this film. The performers are all just wonderful, with some really brave work and some real tears shed and some honest moments. It's breathtaking movie making. It's very different from a lot of the stuff that I cover on EP. There are no lightsabers, there are no superhero capes in this movie, but I really challenge you not to be moved by the wonderful The Banshees of Inisherin. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10.